Hey guys, I'm not sure if there's enough light for you to even see me out here, but I'm out in the back again. Started a little fire. Just kind of wanting to spend some time outside, I guess. So, I've been thinking about all you guys. Um, I miss all of you. Um, I know I haven't been very in touch with a lot of people lately, so I know maybe you guys are worried about me. You really shouldn't be. I'm good. You know, just going about my business, hanging out in the woods and processing photos and thinking about the world like I usually do. So, I've been good. A little disturbed about how things have been going in the country lately. And I know a lot of people out there are really concerned about Trump being president and all the implications of that. I know me saying this is going to make some people mad who were supporters of Trump and stuff. So I understand why people supported Trump. I think it's a little more complicated than they're trying to make it out in the news media. They're trying to make it all a matter of racism, and there is an element of racism that's gone into at least some of the people who voted for Trump. There's no way denying that. But I also feel like there was a lot of deep-seated other stuff that kind of went along with that, like the fact that, this generation growing up right now, the millennials, which I'm not a part of actually. I'm actually a Generation Xer myself. But there's this kind of misunderstanding of what the millennials are going through by a lot of the older generation. They don't really kind of understand that this is the first generation in the history of this country that's going to have a lower standard of living than the generation that came before it. People are in debt. They're having a hard time finding jobs. The top 3 jobs in the country right now are service industry jobs. It's, sales clerk, cashier. I can't remember what the third one was, but it's all service industry basically. It's people who work menial jobs, making just enough to get by, poverty wages basically. A good portion of the people right now who are working actually qualify for welfare. So, and there's not a lot of hope in sight for a lot of people. That's why there's a lot of anger in the country, and there was a real upside down. There's a lot of anger in the country, and there was a real sense that something needed to change, and that the status quo, the way it was working, wasn't working correctly. So people were kind of confronted with 2 candidates this time around, and they had a candidate in the Democratic Party who, for most people, kind of represented the status quo, and you had another candidate who was outside the political spectrum who was promising to change the status quo. So for a lot of people, they voted for Trump just on that. If you really pay attention to what he was saying on the campaign trail, he was promising people that he was going to bring back well-paying jobs and that he was going to expand medical coverage for everyone so that more people would have access to doctors and stuff. Well, that's something that people wanted to hear, and that's something that people wanted to believe was true. And I don't actually think that Trump's going to is going to come through on his campaign promises. I mean, he's already kind of, so far in his first 100 days, it kind of demonstrated that expanding medical coverage to everybody isn't really his priority. In fact, it's the other way. He's not trying to expand people's benefits. He's going to end up cutting people's benefits. So a lot of the people who voted for Trump will be the people who actually suffer the most under his administration. And I know a lot of people would be like, good, they deserve it. But in reality, no, they didn't. We don't deserve this. We don't deserve to work hard all our lives and barely make enough money to get by. And people are angry and hurt and confused right now about the way the country's going. And there is a lot of racial strife and a lot of racial tension in the country right now. And part of that's economic. When you look at the history of the country, these sort of racial tensions always flare up anytime there's economic hardship in the country. I mean, the lynchings went up dramatically during the Great Depression as compared to the decades that led up to it. And then after the Great Depression, they subsided again. Um, so it's not like this isn't a pattern that we've seen before in this country. Anytime there's a lot of economic hardship, there's a flare up in racial tensions. And a lot of that's intentional. It's actually spread from the upper classes down to us because racism is an easy way to get us to, instead of focus on the people who are actually responsible for our economic problems, which is, let's face it, it's the 1%. It's the ruling class of the country that's really led us into these problems. But instead of us blaming them and putting the blame where it lies, really, we've been kind of tricked into this concept of blaming each other. You know, it's not the elites who shipped your jobs overseas. They're not the ones that are at fault. It's the Mexican guy who's working on on your roof, and building your roads. He's the person that's the problem. And it's just not true. So it does kind of disturb me how easy people fall into that sort of way of thinking and are tricked into that. But not everybody's really looking for big answers. You know, most people are just trying to live their lives day to day, and they're really not paying attention to why the world is the way it is. So, you know, they don't really grasp what's going on in the country. So I don't say that to be kind of conceited or to say that I'm smarter than everybody else, because I do see some of these problems in the country. It's just I'm afforded the luxury of being able to really sit and think about these things on a deeper level, and to really kind of look into it and try to investigate these things. And a lot of people from these younger generations, my generation, Generation X, and the millennials, just have a lot more access to information than generations that came before us. So that's why we are a little more well informed too on a lot of things that are going on. So I've gotten into a lot of really heated discussions about a lot of these topics with a lot of people. And one thing that I've kind of noticed as a recurring theme is that as a group, people tend to make decisions more based on our emotions than on logic. And I understand that because we're emotional creatures, and I fall into that too. I make decisions based on emotions and not on logic. But it's important for us to try to take a step back and not just let the way we feel overweigh what we know to be true. So I don't know. Just really try to investigate these issues a little deeper. Try to dig into them a little more, and not just accept things as you see them on the surface. That's not even what I really wanted to talk about, to tell you the truth. I just kind of went off on that tangent because I haven't really addressed that subject yet. But anyway, the fire's dying, so I'm going to put some more wood on it. I'll talk to you guys later. Love ya.